هذا جمعا مرحوما واجعل التفرق بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تدع فينا شقيا ولا محروما. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to him, and peace and blessings be upon his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He who is guided by the will of Allah, no one can misguide him, and he who is misguided, no one can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do bear witness that there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is his messenger. Respected brothers and sisters, just before I start, please, if you are interested to, inshallah, to be with us on the same track, you need to know the following. This is our 7th session in Seerah. Tomorrow, our 42nd session in Tafsir. So we are building concepts. So in case you have some questions about something, it's good to go, through other sessions so to enjoy, because I can't say everything every time, and I can't repeat everything every time. So I'm building concepts. So if you are interested, inshallah, to be with us, inshallah, for the future, do your best to try to go through previous sessions. This will help a lot, because I'm working on the base of building concepts. Building concepts, bits and pieces, like when you put the red bricks and you have at the end a very strong big wall. However, the big wall consists of small bricks. So each session for me, it's either 1 or 2 bricks, that's it. So try to go through Dar Foundation YouTube channel, N.Banat, B-A-N-A-T YouTube channel, Dr. Amjad, A-M-J-A-D, Orshah, Q-O-U-R-S-H-A-H, Facebook and YouTube channel. You can find all the sessions in these 4 websites, okay? Tamam, inshallah. Last time in our 6th session, we went through the importance of al-muqaddasat. When someone has a sacred thing, even people at the time of paganism, they were defending these things. And we reminded you about the story of the fil. أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. And we highlighted very quickly what the amazing things, even though Arabs at that time, they were polytheists, mushrikeen, associators. But, however, the honor was not for the mushrikeen of Mecca. The honor was a preparation for the coming of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the things that was said in the context of why Allah did this amazing thing, unless Allah did that, Prophet Muhammad could have been born as a slave. Because at that time, any conquering army will take slave men and slave women. Who was amongst them at that time? Amina bint Wahab, the mother of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Actually, he was a baby of about 7 months in her womb at that time. So subhanallah, the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happened what happened. And we reminded you last time about how subhanallah, people with the inner nature, they look down with some kind of disgusting, view to the people who betray their places and their countries and their people, even if they have nothing to do with Iman. You remember those who helped Abraha, showed them the place of Mecca, just how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them, and we told you about, memorize this name, Qabr Abu Rughal. Abu Rughal was one of the most well-known traitors who was showing and leading as a guide the army of Abraha to bring him to Mecca. Then he passed away. Arabs for years, they used to spit and to stone his grave as a traitor. So subhanallah. So what about when you have the true religion? When someone betrays all of your sacred places and sacred values, subhanallah, the value of this thing. Right, this happened last time. Today I have 2 main titles. I will do my best to cover both of them. The first one, most likely we will do it. The second one, I will do my best. the two main titles of today, the story of Bahirah al-Rahib. Bahirah, the monk, the Christian monk Bahirah. This is a very significant story in the context of the Seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. Because it has a lot of things others they inserted and they made lies against Islam and Muslims, which is not applicable in our history. So you need to know about the conflict, especially I think you became now, you have a good knowledge when I say orientalists. You know what I'm talking about. Okay? Bahirah al-Rahib. Then we will talk inshallah about his story of how did he get married from Khadija radiallahu anha. Okay? What happened? The narrations about the difference between the age. Is that true? Or we don't have an authentic resource about that? Who was this lady? How many boys and girls Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him from him? Did they live? Yes, no. What happened? Who's Al-Qasim? Who's Al-Ibrahim? Who's the mother? Is that the only one? Then later we will talk about Maryam al-Qibtiyya, because he was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a son from her. So we'll try now to gather. So Bahirah al-Rahib and Khadija today inshallah. So let's come to the story of Bahirah al-Rahib. The first thing, the story of Bahirah al-Rahib is not highly authentic in our traditions. When I say that highly, it's not an agreed upon with its details. So we have some scholars consider the chain of the narrators sahih, some of them they consider it da'if. But you can use it as a source. Historically, it has a good weight to be used. But it's not in the level of talking narrated by Al-Bukhari or Muslim or something, okay? So we have some kind of ups and downs. Let's say, if we are depending on a narration from Al-Bukhari, we are talking about something 92 to 98%. The narrations that we received this story from, they are working in the area within 65 to 72%. We are not talking about lies now, but in our criteria, because we have a very accurate criteria filtering system for the narrations, okay? Why I'm saying that? From one angle, it's better than all types of narrations of others. If you want to compare us with what Jews have and Christians have, what we have is a crystal jewel. Okay? But in our categories, if you want to compare it with what we know as the best as a Bukhari Muslim, much less. Just keep it in your mind, because you might need it this. Because some of the details, truly they are da'if. Some of the details in this story. Why I need you to know that? Because this story is very simple, direct to the point, contains simple piece of information. Some Christians, orientalists, they added a lot of lies on this to help something against Islam and Muslim, because he was Christian monk. Okay? So let's read the story. As I told you, I'm dealing with about 7 to 8 resources of the Seerah. One of them, Al-Rahiq al-Makhtoum, the sealed nectar by Al-Mubarak Furi, the Indian Muslim. One of them, As-Sallabi. One of them, Muhammad Sa'id Bakr. One of them, Muhammad al-Ghazali. One of them, Al-Buti. So the narration that I will be using it from Al-Mubarak al-Furi, Al-Rahiq al-Makhtoum, the sealed nectar. I will read it in Arabic very quickly. The Arabs just take the spirit of the meaning. Then I will highlight the main concepts in English, inshallah. Then I will start tell you what kind of lies have been added during the history and why. Then I will refute them point by point. So that will help you, inshallah, how to deal for the future. Right. Now the narration in Arabic. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. ملخصها كما في الرحيق المختوم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما بلغ 12 سنة قيل وشهرين و10 أيام، لأي درجة دقة، أوكي؟ قال ارتحل به أبو طالب تاجرا إلى الشام حتى وصل إلى بصرة وهي معدودة من الشام وقصبة لحوران، وكانت في ذلك الوقت قصبة للبلاد العربية التي كانت تحت حكم الرومان، By the way, can those who understand my Arabic now raise up their hands? Just to see, am I wasting my time by reading in Arabic? Okay, طيب الحمد لله, it's good. طيب. I'm sorry for the rest, but just Arabic, then full English إن شاء الله بإذن الله. قال وكانت تحت حكم الرومان وكان في هذا البلد راهب عرف ببحيرة واسمه فيما يقال جرجس فلما نزل الركب خرج إليهم وكان لا يخرج إليهم قبل ذلك فجعل يتخللهم حتى جاء فأخذ بيد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وقال هذا سيد العالمين هذا رسول رب العالمين. وكان عمره 12 سنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال هذا يبعثه الله رحمة للعالمين. فقال له أبو طالب وأشياخ قريش وما علمك بذلك؟ قال إنكم حين أشرفتم من العقبة لم يبق حجر ولا شجر إلا خر ساجدا ولا يسجدان إلا لنبي وإني أعرفه بخاتم النبوة أسفل من غضروف كتفه مثل التفاحة وإنا نجده في كتبنا. ثم أكرمهم بالضيافة وسأل أبا طالب أن يرده ولا يقدم به إلى الشام خوفا عليه من الروم واليهود فبعثه عمه مع بعض غلمانه إلى مكة. هذه إحدى الروايات بالمناسبة. We have many narrations, some of them double times of these details, but this is one of the, let's say, most authentic. What the narration says, it says when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was about to be 12, he traveled with his uncle Abu Talib. Came to Asham. You know, Asham, it does not mean Syria, it means Bilad al-Sham, Levant. And now, in our words today, it means Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan. This is called, all of them used to call historically Bilad al-Sham, okay? So they came to Busra. Busra al-Sham, it was the capital of the area of Busra. In our words now about 14 kilometers to the south of Damascus. Now in our words today it's part of the province of Dar'a. Okay? So he came to south of Damascus in our words today at that time. He was just 12, traveling. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned رحلة الشتاء والصيف. Do you remember that? Because Allah was telling Quraysh, you need to know the context, the full history. Allah, part of Allah's favors upon Quraysh, when He was reminding them of His favor, آمنهم من جوع أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. Started with what? لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف. Allah was reminding them about the peace, the full protection that Allah has honored Quraysh with. Put this in the context. After what happened in Am al-Fil, everyone gave 10 times honor to Quraysh. Because everyone in the Arab Peninsula heard that there was like a mu'jiza, like a miracle. You know, the army, no one touched the army. Just birds came and they were vanished, they were killed. So Quraysh historically used to have high status. However, after Am al-Fil, 10 times. Plus, Quraysh used to enjoy the honor of serving the pilgrims, خدمة الحجاج, which was in the Arabic language, it's called al-rifada was-siqaya. Can you imagine, by the way, when thousands of people, they come in average 4 months out of the year. Let's say in our worlds now, the tourism season. When you say tourism season, and the people of Mecca used to provide for the full people, thousands at that time. You know, logistics at that time, no highways, no big trucks, no trains, no airplanes. So providing food, water, shelter, or any need for thousands, 4 months out of every year is not something easy. So they were, all of Quraysh, they used to donate collectively a money every year, like a special trust or a treasure, they spend on the pilgrims, food, drink, shelter, need, etc. So they used to have this kind of very high respected honor. Now, building on that, they used to travel going to, when it's in the winter, very cold in the north, they used to go to the south, to Yemen. When it's in the summer, they used to go to the north, which is Bilad al-Sham. So this is رحلة الشتاء والصيف, Yemen and Bilad al-Sham. Now, Abu Talib was part of the traders of the merchants of Mecca. When Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, 12 years after Am al-Fil, Abu Talib went with the group, with the delegation of Mecca to Busra al-Sham, which is in our language now, South Damascus, in Dar'a now. He was with him, accompanying him, he was teaching him. So they came to the area of Busra. قال وكانت قصبة للبلاد العربية التي كانت تحت حكم الرومان. At that time, Busra, it was the capital, the most important capital for the Arabs around the area under the ruling of the Romans at that time. So قال وكان في هذا البلد راهب عرف ببحيرة. There was a monk, Christian monk, his name is Bahirah. Bahirah, it could be the Christian title. Like, for example, in the Catholic Church now, for example, John Paul II. His name is not John Paul. He has another name, okay? But this is like, for example, when they say, for example, Al-Baba, such, it's like they have a system of giving special religious names, but it's not his own proper name. His name is Georges or Gerges. Okay. Now, Georges, فلما نزل الركب خرج إليهم. He used always, it's very well known, high respected Christian monk, very well known in the area. So the people of Mecca, every time they used to pass by the area where he lives, never ever in his life left his place of worship and he welcomed them or even looked at them or spoke with them. In this specific time, he left his place of worship and he came directly to them. So they were looking some kind of very interesting. Now, قال خرج إليهم وكان لا يخرجون. He used not do it before that. فجعل يتخللهم. He kept, they are a delegation. They could be tens, hundreds, we have no idea. The narration does tell us they were 100 camels, 200 people, 500 people. By the way, when they used to travel as a caravan, they were not few people because they used, you need to protect themselves. So it used to be tens or maybe hundreds. So it's supposedly should be a good number. قال فجعل يتخللهم. He used to keep walking amongst them, okay? حتى جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He was just a young, 12 years old, just a young boy. قال وكان لا يخف فجعل حتى جاء فأخذ بيد الرسول قال هذا سيد العالمين هذا رسول رب العالمين. This young boy is the master of the people. He is the prophet of the worlds, رسول رب العالمين. So they were astonished. قال فجعل يتخللهم وقال رسول رب العالمين يبعثه الله رحمة العالمين. Allah will send him as a mercy for the worlds. Abu Talib, he respected, and the people of Quraysh, the high respected Ashyakh, the great high ranks people. قال وما علمك بذلك يا أمين. On what base you say this is the master of the people? He's a monk. Pause. Go back. I forgot you are not in the tafsir, sorry. I want to go back with the tafsir. وكانوا من قبل يستفتحون به على الذين فلما جاءهم ما عرفوا. Do you remember? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the verses, when he was talking about Isa alayhi salam, he said that he gave the glad tidings and قال ومبشرا برسول من بعد اسمه أحمد. So according to our resources that we believe is authentic, by the way, in our Aqidah, all prophets gave the glad tidings of the coming of Prophet Muhammad. But the last one who confirmed in full that he will come definitely after me, it was Jesus alayhi salam, peace be upon him. So we believe that he said it, okay? Because the Quran said it, that he said it. So now the genuine Christians who read the true, original, genuine copies of the Injil, they knew that he's coming. Are you with me? So I thought something strange. But how come? They're waiting. Like, just two quick pauses. Too quick, just to confirm, to make it, because my point is not just to give you information. I want you to understand things all together as a package, to have a strategic thinking about how to deal with the information. Pause. Remind me where I reached. What made Jews exist in Al-Medina? I told you, do you remember? I think in this session, Wallahi, I'm mixing between Tafsir and Seerah. I think in this session.
Waiting for the Prophet.
Waiting for the Prophet. Tafsir. Anyway, very quickly. Jews, they used to live before the coming of Prophet with 600 years in what we know now as Jerusalem and Palestine. Then they were attacked, conquered, killed, vanished, kicked out by Christian Romans in 70 AD. This is part of the history, by the way. It's not a religious, it's a history. Go and read about the attack of Romans against the Jews in Jerusalem in 70 AD. Just go and read about that. Read about Titus, Titos, great Roman leader, military leader. He attacked the Jews and he killed many of them and he destroyed part of Jerusalem. Then another time, 60 years later, in 136 AD, another attack, they demolished Jerusalem completely and they killed many Jews and they flee from that. Now at 70 AD, what does 70 AD mean? Before the birth of Prophet Muhammad with?
600.
Prophet Muhammad was born 570 AD. They were kicked out of Jerusalem at 70 AD. Before the birth of Prophet Muhammad with 500 years exactly, his birth. So he was born in 570 AD. So 500 years before that, they were attacked by the Roman Christians. Killed some of them, others traveled. At that time, some of them went to what we know now as Europe. Turkey, East Europe, North Europe. Some of them as tribes, they came to Medina and Khaybar. We know them with the Arabic names as Bani Qurayza, Bani Qaynuqa, because they are Semitic tribes and Arab Semitic tribes. They are close to their cousins. So their culture somehow very close, their clothing and the language. So they lived with them. After 500 years of common culture, all of them, they used to speak Arabic. However, the Jews, they used to speak Hebrew in addition to the Arabic. But they were living as tribes in Al-Medina. Okay? Now, according to them, how did we know that? It was mentioned in the Quran and once in the Hadith as well. In the Quran, وَكَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. We told you about that, the tafsir. Allah told us that Jews at Al-Medina, whenever they used to fight with Aus and Al-Khazraj, they had a quarreling fight for whatever reason, as tribal culture, any problem happens, they used to have big fights. Jews as a people of the book against pagans, Arabs, Aus and Al-Khazraj. So they were polytheists. Jews, they were from decent shape of believers against mushrikeen. So they used to ask the help of Allah doing what we know as tawassul now. We have tawassul a'mal salihah. You know the concept of tawassul? Like to do the intercession, to ask for them somebody. Say, Ya Allah, I ask you if you accepted this good thing from me, okay, help me in something. This is part of the permissible tawassul. Part of what they used to do at that time, when they stand in rows to start the fight, they used to raise up their hands, asking victory from Allah against pagans, Arabs, by the blessings of the coming of the Prophet. فلما جاءهم ما عرفوا, the rest you know. Can you imagine? So it's not just they knew, they were asking victory every trouble. Ya Allah, بحق النبي الذي سيبعث, by the blessings of the promised prophet that is coming, give us victory against pagans. So you need to know this, because Bahirah al-Rahib, what did he know? What did he know? Who did not know Aslan? Everyone knows. You need to know that everyone knew at that time. So it's not something strange, because it's widely spread. Now, Safiya, you heard about Safiya? Who's Safiya? The wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before she came, the wife of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she is the daughter of Huyay ibn Akhtab. Huyay ibn Akhtab is the biggest leader of Bani Qaynuqa. She said after she became a Muslimah that I was a young girl in the house of my father when my uncle came to my father when Prophet Muhammad came to Medina. And she narrated the story, the end of the story, that she heard her uncle and her father, and both of them, they were rabbis, hakamat. Her father and her uncle. And by the way, another pose. Many posat. بدكم ترجعوا لي وصل. Huyay ibn Akhtab, the father of Safiya, his grandfather Harun alayhi salam. So the uncle of Safiya is Musa alayhi salam. Do you know this? Harun, uncle, descendant, Huyay ibn Akhtab, Safiya, wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After she became a Muslim, she narrated in the hadith that when I was a young girl with my father, when Prophet Muhammad came to Medina, I heard both of them talking about the coming of the Prophet. So they knew. She said, but I did not care. Sometimes your father might be talking about something so serious. For you, just politics. It's like you, if we have some, for example, now 12, 13 years old, if you are saying, liberals, Democrats, something, who cares? You are playing with your PlayStation. PS5 is better for you than Justin Trudeau and all politicians. So, but later on, when she became the wife prophet, she remembered what used to happen. Anyway, why I'm mentioning all of this? You know why? What's the reason? Why I'm highlighting all of this data? Let's talk about Bahirah. What's the relation between Bahirah and the Jews at the Medina and وَكَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ and Safiya? What's the relation? Why I'm highlighting all this?
Because the Eliktab knew.
Huh?
Because they knew.
I want you to know that they knew. So why Bahirah? So Bahirah was, in his context, a very normal phenomenon. You need to know that, okay? In addition, he was a scholar. He was a rahib. And he was not any rahib. He was كان معروفا في بصرة. He was very well known in Busra. Busra at that time was the capital of the area for Romans, for all the Arabs in that time. It's like in our world when we say Cairo or Baghdad or Damascus. So now قال إنكم حين أشرفتم. So he used to them. But how did you know that this is, he came and said this is the master, Sayyid al-Alamin, and he will be sent as a prophet. He will be sent as a prophet. قال, he said, how did you know? وما علمك ذلك? قال إنكم حين أشرفتم من العقبة. When you came from the top of the hill, just you appeared. قال لم يبق حجر ولا شجر إلا خر ساجدا ولا يسجدان إلا نبي. Now the concept of sujood for حجر or sajar, it means, he realized that by, like when they lean like this. So he noticed some kind of very strange movement with, the stones and the trees against, in a very strange way. As a scholar, as a alim, as a knowledgeable person in Christianity at that time, by the way, at that time he was from the true believers. And another pause, معلش. We Muslims consider everyone followed the Prophet of his time genuinely, what do we call him? Muslim. Literally Muslim. Ibrahim alayhi salam called himself in the Quran what? وَأَنَا أَوَّلْ مُسْلِمِينَ. Yusuf alayhi salam called himself in the Quran وَأَنَا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That's why one of the amazing divine wisdom of naming Islam as Islam, another pause, معلش رجعوني أنا براني على البوزات, but you know like you know Perzi? بريزي ولا شو اسمه هذا اللي تبع السلايسات بتعمل برانش رجع للمربع. You know it? Okay. We'll talk about some kind of slides on the YouTube like the PowerPoint, okay? The hyperlinks. Hyperlinks. So, I forgot the hyperlink.
Islam.
Yes. Islam Muslim. One of the amazing divine wisdom behind, for example, in Judaism, it's Judaism after the tribe of Judah. Christianity, it was named after the person of Jesus Christ. Buddhism was named after Buddha. Islam was not named after Muhammad. So we are not Muhammadanism. We are what? Muslims. To show you the concept of the religion, which is to be submissive to the will of the Lord of Muhammad, was commanded by Muhammad to bring you the Sharia. Okay? We come back. So, here comes ألم يبقى من العقبة أو حين أشرفت من العقبة بقى حجر ولا شيء إلا خر ساجدا ولا يسجدان للنبي. And I know from my knowledge that will not happen except for a prophet. قال وإني أعرفه بخاتم النبوة أسفل من غضروف كتفه مثل التفاحة. أنا عارف إنكم شو سألتكم عليها المرة الماضية. الشامة شو معناتها بالإنجليزي؟ الشامة. الشامة. Red mark?
Birthmark.
No, not birthmark.
لا الشامة.
Moles.
MOLE. مع إني سألت ونسيتها. مول بتفخيم اللام. Seriously, تفخيم اللام. مول. طيب هو واحد فكر مول بعدين. Okay, so he said, and I know him from Khatam al-Nubuwwah, this kind of mole in a specific place with a specific shape in the back, between his shoulders from the back. And they uncovered it. And by the way, it happened many times later. Some of the rabbis, they came to him and they looked at this and say, because they read it in their books. Another pose. Have you read about what's his name, Rabbi? Zahir. Ya Allah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I forget the name. Give me just 1 second. I'm on the internet. سبحان الله. كل ملوك الدنيا قبل 1000 سنة ما عندهم انترنت. طيب. Yes. زيد بن السعنة. his name is Zayd ibn Su'unna. He came to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and he made a big trouble with him. It's a long context. His name is Zayd ibn Su'unna. He was a big rabbi. Came Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and he made a big trouble with him. It has a long context. So, and he was shocked when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was so kind, so nice with him. Then, after that, Umar Khattab was about to hit him. Then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, caught the hand of Umar Khattab. He said, Umar, speak with him in a very nice way. After that, he asked to look, if I'm not mistaken, to this mole. Then he declared his shahada. And he said, and I saw all of the signs of your prophethood. The only thing that was not clear to me after the mole and after everything, that it was said in our books, قال سيكون النبي يحلم على من يؤذيه. He will have an amazing patience against the rude people with him. So I wanted to provoke you intentionally, so to see your reaction. Then he became a Muslim. Anyway, let's continue with bahirah الراهب. قال وإني أعرفه بخاتم النبوة. I know him by the specific mole with its shape in his back. قال وإن نجده في كتبنا. We find these details in our books. قال ثم أكرمهم بالضيافة. He honored them, as their guests. وسأل أبا طالب أن يرده ولا يقدم به إلى الشام. In many narrations, he was begging Abu Talib not to continue with his journey. He said, I feel afraid from the Romans and the Jews against him, because he knew that the information is widely spread about the possibility of coming a prophet in this time. قال سأله ولا يقدم به خوفا عليه فبعثه عمه مع بعض غلمانه إلى مكة. So Prophet, one of the narrations that Abu Talib, instead of returning all the caravan back, he sent him with a group of his slave boys to Mecca and did not continue with them. This is called the story of bahirah الراهب. In a very simple way, we can just conclude that, subhanallah, it's one of the many signs of the preparation for the coming of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. From one angle, Abraha, what happened with Abraha is one of the signs. From another angle, what happened with Bahira is another sign. From another angle, what happened with Halima, Sa'diyah, she took him and everything, the blessings, the milk and the sheep, and we have many preparations, many signs. Now, Bahira, because he was a great Christian monk, later on, orientalists, they made benefit of this story, unfortunately. Through the gate of Orientalism, they added a lot of fake, unreal news. One of the biggest news, and by the way, the news that I will tell you, it's not a theoretical thing. I witnessed by myself some of it in the UK when I was doing my PhD. I will give you an amazing, funny story about this. I was an eyewitness on that. Now, unfortunately, if you want to study Islam and if you are interested to SOAS, this is the abbreviation of what? SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies in London. This is the most well-known, famous Orientalist school in the history in London University. It's at an abbreviation we call it SOAS. It's SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies. Just have an idea, if you have a time, to see the articles and the books published by them. You will see another Islam. You know nothing about it. Because they publish what they think, what they believe, not what we think. Not what we believe. Unfortunately, it has nothing, very far from academia. Academic studies should be just to represent you as you think and you believe. One of the funny, amazing stories, my PhD is in comparative religions. And I lived 6 years in the UK during this time. One, sisters, خليكم معنا معلش. If some of you are busy and interested in something else, please just leave until we finish. Allah يجزيكم خير. One of the things that I witnessed by own eyes, I attended a conference in one of the Oriental colleges, the missionary colleges. I think the name was about 25 years ago. I think Willowbrook College in Birmingham. It was a conference about Christianity and Christians in the Middle East. One of the papers, it was a discussion of a full manuscript for a PhD female student from Belgium, run in the UK, about all the narrations, how Bahirah al-Rahib composed the full Quran for Prophet Muhammad. Full Quran. Because in their narrations, unfortunately, the lies that they fabricated, they claim in their books, the real composer, the real founder of the Quran is Bahirah. So Bahirah is not a marginal name in their stories. They claim in the Bahirah, they picked a point. Look, subhanAllah. By the way, they have no sources to prove anything has to do with Bahirah. It's in our sources, actually, not in theirs. They pick this, they build tons and mountains of lies on it. Part of it, wallahi, I witnessed a full paper, PhD students, she has a manuscript. Allah knows who wrote it, when it was written, to do what. The manuscript to do tahqiq. You see, to do the full editing, to translate it from, it was written 2, 3, 4, 500, Allah, it's a manuscript. She was doing the full editing to type and to do the full editing for this manuscript. It contains what, similar to what we call asbab al-nuzul. You know the concept of asbab al-nuzul? Asbab al-nuzul, for example, we say, when قول الله سبحانه وتعالى, for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقولوا راعنا وقولوا انظرنا. أسباب النزول, we have a special علم القرآن, science. This ayah was revealed in the occasion of such and such happened, someone came on Prophet Muhammad. For example, Surah Al-Kahf, قصة أصحاب الكهف, and قصة ذي القرنين. It was a reaction, the revelation, to a question came by a group of Jews. They came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They asked about رجل, كان يدعى ذي القرنين, and they asked about فتية كانوا بالكهف. قالوا يسأل. It's called asbab al-nuzul. The occasions in which by them, for the sake of them, Allah decided by His wisdom to reveal these kind of verses in this occasion. Okay? Similar to that, full manuscript by this Belgium PhD student. She was doing the editing, mentioning, and she made a presentation for us as a PhD student. For example, in the occasion of when Prophet Muhammad said such and such, he was sitting and they asked him, "Oh Prophet Muhammad," then he said, "Excuse me, just I want to say something." Bahirah al-Rahib all the time was hiding behind one of the walls, all the time. Believe it or not, wallahi. So he used to leave them like, "Excuse me, I want to go to washroom." Then he goes, "Bahirah, okay, save me, ilhaqni." What shall I say? Then, wallahi, uqsim billah, you are laughing. Uqsim billah, this is what happened. Uqsim billah. Full PhD. This is academic science. Actually, wallahi. Then in the occasion of Samsung, they were in the area of South Mecca, to Mecca. Then he left them for a while. Bahirah was listening, but he was hiding behind the wall. 23 years, no one saw Bahirah. Okay? Always he's hiding. He does not eat, he does not sleep, but always he's hiding somewhere. He goes and asks him, "What shall I say?" He say, "Tell them blah 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 blah." Then he goes and say, "No, something." Wallahi, full PhD on this. Tens and hundreds of narrations fabricated. They fabricated the occasion of the occasion. What happened? Subhanallah. I know, I read about that, but when you witness it by your own eyes, when you see a female, a lady spending 5 years of her life for a PhD, and she will be holding a PhD in comparative religions as a scholar in Islam, you look at yourself and say, "Hasbina Allah wa ni'mal wakeel." This is academia. This is academic research. So at least discuss with me with what I admit that I accept. Don't bring lies from your mind and you put them as part of my religion. Anyway, but I mean, maybe if you are not close to the academic humanities, you will not feel about what I came across humanities, religious studies, comparative religions, you will know what I'm talking about. Because out of a sudden you will find yourself with a group of MA students, PhD students, 90% of them, they believe in that. Muslims are not Muslims. And by the way, 75% of the PhD students in that center, they were Muslims. In the center that I used to do my PhD, not in the conference. In that conference, I was the only Arab Muslim there. We have Muslims, non-Arabs, but I was the only Arab Muslim. But I mean, really, 8 countries they were participating. Canada, there was some scholars from Canada, from America, from Lebanon, from Syria. All the Arabs, they were Christians at that time, at that conference. But the point, and I witness about the lies against Islam in an academic circles. Anyway, right. In case, if you were reading in a special website for atheists, for orientalists, some missionary groups, for whatever, they decided to spread these lies. You need to be aware that, from one angle, Bahirah al-Rahib is part of the stories that we have in our resources, number one. Number two, the story is not in the highest level of authenticity. However, it has some acceptance that could be narrated. Okay? 3, the details is so limited to what I have told you. Anything else, it's just fabricated. Now, the point, depending on that, in case if someone told you, we don't know, let's think, let's do critical thinking, Sheikh. Can you prove to me that Bahirah is not the teacher of Muhammad? طيب يا عمي تعال مجنون يحكي وعاقل يسمع. I am the crazy and you are the one with the reasoning. You claim or you read someone claims that Bahirah is the real writer and founder of the Quran. Can you imagine someone who has the full Quran and he spent 23 years of dedicating or شو معنى إملاء؟ Dictating, dictating to someone else, why he did not claim it for himself? Well, why? If Bahirah has the Quran as we know, why on earth to spend his life بالEgyptian language اللهو الخفي؟ بتعرفوا اللهو الخفي؟ Ghosts. Just a ghost behind the walls. According to their narrations, all the time. He was there whenever Muhammad is stuck. He want to fabricate something. He used to go behind the wall and ask Bahirah. طب سؤال, why? طيب, the Quran, if you believe that Bahirah is a genuine Christian monk, so he brought the Quran from where? From himself, so he became a liar. So how you trust him? If from God, and you admit that Bahirah is your Christian monk brought the Quran from God to the one that God asked your Christian monk to give it to him. True or false? By the way, this is called for the sake of argument. In case if you claim this, I will go with you to the end of the argument. If that's from one angle, logical argument, why he to spend all the time instead of claiming this for himself? طيب, if he's a genuine Christian monk, so he is fulfilling his duty by the commandment of Allah. He asked him to give the Quran to Prophet Muhammad. So you are admitting the prophethood of Muhammad if you accept that Bahirah is a genuine, true Christian monk. طيب, from another angle, which is the most funny one. They are dependent on our resources to take the origin of the story. They don't have any narrations. You know this? It's like someone will say, hey, I don't accept anything. Like, have you heard about Islam al-Bukhari? He's a very, very well-known atheist, Egyptian one. He has nothing. He's an empty person. But however, some kind of TVs, they keep bringing him. Anyway, For example, he attacks Sahih al-Bukhari as a fabricated book. And sometimes he wants to attack you, say, hey, al-Bukhari says, and he attacks you with al-Bukhari. Ya ammi jannat. You say that Sahih al-Bukhari is fabricated, then he uses al-Bukhari against you. So we tell those Orientalists, non-Muslims, non-Arabs especially, we tell them, look, you have no resources. You have no change of narrators. Nothing at all. You depend completely on our resources. You say, it was narrated by some. We say, look, if you don't have anything, know your place, sit down, let me teach you and take my information in my criteria. Or otherwise, you are not searching an academic research. You are just someone with a will ill. Yes.
What if they tell you they have manuscripts? They have manuscripts that show مثلا X, Y, Z narration.
When they have manuscripts, you need to bring it to the test, the academic test. Manuscript, just an orphan manuscript without anything else to prove it's in the science of academia. You can easily disprove it and you can destroy it if you put it under the academic side. Because when you compare it, okay, what is it? Just one manuscript? Sometimes to prove a historical thing like this, widely spread and well known, you need hundreds and tens and thousands. That's why we have ilm sanad. We have the books and we have the people. Now when we say, for example, we have the chain of narrators, one of the proofs that we have millions of people who memorize a text called the Quran. One of the practical proofs of at-tawatur, of narrations, that make a test with anyone on earth who memorize the Quran, all of them, they will say the same. Even we don't have translation, we have the same language. And it's one of the miracles of the Quran. We have non-Arabs. We have Pakistani, Indian, Nigerians, Africans in general, Asians in general, Europeans in general. They don't speak Arabic, they don't understand Arabic, but they memorize the Quran. Exactly in the same word. All of them, they say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All of them, they say, Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, even though they don't understand what this means. In this science, they have nothing. They will say, okay, manuscript, what is it? Who narrated it? In which books? Because sometimes it's a chain of things as we have. We have millions of books. Millions of memorizers for these things. When you put them together, you come and discuss. But it's something, they sit there, they claim it, they said it, they spread it, they use the power of the media, and that's it. But in the science of the academia, I myself, for example, once I came to the class as a PhD student, to my supervisor, he was a priest in the Church of England, my supervisor. I came to the class, it happened that I was the only Muslim there, the only. All of them, they were non-Arabs, and the Arabs, they were Christians, and the rest, they were Christian as well, Arabs and non-Arabs. So I was the only Muslim. I was not planning to go to that class, and he did not know that I'm coming. So he has already started giving a lesson to them. And I changed my schedule. He did not know, so I just knocked the door, opened, and I asked to sit. He was so embarrassed, he could not tell me no. He has already written something on the whiteboard. So in front of the students, he was embarrassed. He can't change because I have come. He will be embarrassed in front of them. Wallahi, so he continued with embarrassing. What he was telling them? He was explaining to them how we Arabs, we don't understand Arabic. But he, the British Christian priest, understand Arabic in full. So he was teaching Christian non-Arabs the genuine Arabic that we idiots, stupid Arabs, we don't understand it. Do you want to? Wallah, I'm not joking. Okay, he did not use these terms. But the context was because he was teaching them that how we don't understand that Prophet Muhammad was not illiterate. He was not ummi. Because the word النبي العربي الأمي الذي يجدونه عندهم في التوراة. Because Allah indicated it clearly that Prophet Muhammad was what? Illiterate. Okay? النبي العربي الأمي. He was explaining to them, even though his Arabic was very humble, hardly he can speak 2 sentences in Arabic. He himself, hardly. It's like my English 25 years ago. He was writing in Arabic the word ummi, then he used to break down the word to plus ya in nisbah. He said the word ummi means the one which is attributed to the mother. Wallahi. Okay? Or ummah. Ummi, ummah, ya, which means he is the one who is attributed to the nation of Muslims, but not illiterate. But this is that something we do not say it in Arabic aslan. Into how come as a British you are teaching in a university something it's against the language and the concept and everything. Wallahi, I witnessed by my own eyes, coincidentally, because it was not scheduled for me to get in there. And I came. This is simple, just stories about how, wallah, I feel sympathy for the students because they keep receiving what? Lies. So please, be patient when you see a non-Muslim in the West speaking with you. He has a lot of misunderstanding. All the time they are receiving this kind of misconceptions. So be patient, but you need to have the knowledge. Correct the concept for them. Because they might be competing with us, by the way, going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better than us. Subhanallah, I was planning to start with Khadija radiallahu anha, but at least the story of bahirah now is very clear, inshallah. How to use it, why, what happened from an academic point of view with orientalists. Jazakumullah khairan. I think just less than half a minute or 2 minutes to start the Isha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.